Hi, this is Vicky, also known as Dragonfly7673. It is Tuesday, March 24th, and you're watching DragonflySoars. It's about 5:15 or so, and I have some exciting stuff to show you. It'll probably be a short podcast, but it's still got good stuff. So, the biggest, bestest thing is that this blanket, it is all seamed. It is one big functional blanket. Now, I am still planning to put a border on, and I will probably crochet a border. But it is fully functional at this point. So, which also means that I feel no reason that I need to hurry on the borders. Like I said, I wasn't thinking I would get it done this past weekend. I wasn't sure I'd even get one seam complete. We had been talking about moving some of my stuff to best friend's house, and then we were talking about the fact that my yarn room has become a catch-all over time because it was his office, and it was the one room that wasn't really needed. I mean, we all have that. Frankly, my son's room, now that he's not here, sometimes becomes the catch-all. And luckily people come just enough that it gets cleaned out. But yeah, it had become the catch-all. So he actually spent all of Saturday basically cleaning that room. Sorting stuff, throwing stuff out, relocating, whatever he needed to do so that there is room for me, which makes me very happy. And it was funny. He just wanted me nearby. He did not want my help. In fact, he really didn't want my help because it was his stuff. But he wanted me near. So all I did all day was seam my blanket. Now I'm the other way. If I'm trying to do some major task like that and there's another person around and they're not helping, even if I know logically they can't help, if they're not helping, I get annoyed that I'm the only one doing the work. So I either want you to help, even though you can't help, or do something else productive, or it's just better to not be around. I've learned this over the years. I want to be by myself. He didn't want that. He wanted me near. So I seamed. I seamed and seamed and seamed, and I have a blanket. Now, in order to show this to you better, I have pictures and a little short video that I took my phone and a Gorilla tripod. I attached it to the Gorilla tripod and then hung it upside down from the outside light on my balcony and took a short video. There's no sound because I didn't know what to say, so I stuck music on top of it. But I thought it would give you a better picture of the whole thing. So I brought it home so that I could show you guys and say, look, I finished. But it will be going back to best friend's house because that's where the remaining yarn is for the border. And plus, it's so big and unwieldy that it is easier to not have the cats around. Although the cats will be moving soon. After Netopia, they will be moving. We were planning on moving them before that, and then we were talking today and going, you know what? The cats don't really like it when I disappear. So if I disappear and they're in a strange house, best friend will probably not be very happy. They will not be very happy. It'll all be bad. So we're going to keep them here until after Newtopia. Which is, I'm going the first weekend, so that's the 16th, I think. Maybe the 17th of April. Somewhere right there. The last I knew, there were still openings for that weekend as well. If anybody is interested, contact Tina, Blooming Knitter of the Knitting Blooms podcast. Alright, so that is done. At least, well, like I said, it is functional. The border I'm not in such a big hurry about, so I really wanted it to be usable. So I had done, the last time you saw it, there was 3 strips, 2 strips, and 3 strips done. Well, I attached, oh no, there was 3, 2, 4, something like that. Yeah, that had to be it. Well, then I attached the 3 and the 2 together, so then I had a 5 and a 4, and then I did those 2 together. That one was the hardest, because by that point I was flipping around this whole thing. I was going to show you the intersections. They are not, like, super great. All of them look like that with the X because I tied them off and then wove in the ends. So all of them have that X there. And all the fronts have these tassels. I'm going to trim down the tassels eventually, but I was going to wait and see after I do the border if I want to add any other additional colors into the tassels. I mean, if you're going to have them, I might as well fill them out. But it depends on how I'm feeling. Hi, Mr. Tiggers. I opened the window just for you. It's not even warm enough for a window. Alright. Next, the crochet Yarnspirations Mystery Crochet Along. This week there was not a new clue, so because they gave us 2 weeks to do last week's clue, which for me is good because I'm combining my blankets into one blanket with 40 squares. Now, if I was only doing one blanket with 20 squares, I would have been done. And actually a lot of people are done and going, we didn't really need 2 weeks, but I'm happy to have 2 weeks because this means I'm not scrambling. Hi. But this is what it looks like. There is what is called a braided join right here. And what you do is you basically do a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3. And that's how you do the first one. You do that all the way around. When you're connecting it, you do a single crochet, chain 3, but weave that chain through the neighboring one and pull the yarn all the way through. Down. And so they had you create 24 balls of yarn. Now they said, or not 24, 20 balls of yarn, one for each square. They said to do 24 feet. Some people ended up, that was way too long if their squares were smaller. Some people said that actually wasn't enough, and then they were upset because now they cut all these lengths of yarn and they weren't big enough. I right away decided that I was going to measure out my first square before I cut anything. So the first square isn't connected to anything. So I just did the single crochet, chain 3 all the way around. And I had marked, oh my God. I had marked where 24 feet would be. But I just put a slip knot in my skein of yarn. And then I crocheted all the way around, and it turned out that I was going to need way less than that. So I then knew how much I needed for my squares, and I used that measurement for making the little balls. Now, thank you. After I did that, I was telling you, you chain 3 and then you pull the chain through and the loose yarn. So you pull the whole thing, and then you slip stitch, and then you do the next one. You chain 3, thread the chain and the yarn tail through the chain of the neighboring square. One of the things I discovered by accident when I had to rip back because I had messed up a corner is that if you weave the yarn around the chains ahead of time, you don't have to make that big motion of pulling the excess yarn through. Now there's 2 pluses to that. For me, it means less shoulder anxiety while I'm pulling the yarn through. But also, if you hadn't already cut your balls of yarn, you could actually work that right off the skein. There is somebody posted kind of a little photo tutorial on Facebook for how to do that. But it actually was really simple. And there's a couple people who are like, I'm having trouble with this. And I'm like, just do one part way and then rip it out, then, pull it out, and you'll see that the yarn is wrapped around, and then you can see what is happening. And they went, oh, I got it now. So, because that's how I discovered it. Hi, Pest. So, I'm going to post a picture. Now, the picture I'm posting, last time I did a picture, it was at 5x4 squares, which is how big the afghan would be if I wasn't combining it. I'm actually farther than that. It was 5x4, and then last night I did 3 more squares, but I didn't take a picture yet. I figured it pretty much looks the same. So here you go. And I also have a picture of the back, because several people have been commenting that they really like the back. I mean, it's not reversible, like it's, identical on both sides, but it's still kind of pretty. And I really like the colors we picked. Some people are complaining it's really wild, and I still think that has a lot to do with color choices, because we used gray as the bases on both of them. I think it tones it down some. So I will show pictures here. Next item, Sophie's Universe. I still have all my ends on the other side. Like I said, I've been mostly weaving them in, but I want to go through and secure them more before I cut them off. Although I probably could just cut them off. Most of them I have secure. So it is, when I measured it last night at this point, it is 23 across. And this is parts 1 through 3. So part 1 was the center to the dark brown. And then part 2 was the purple to the tan. And then part 3 was the lavender up through the edge. And the edge is a crab stitch or a reverse single crochet. And there's always a whole lot of complaining about doing the crab stitch, and I don't understand why. Because to me it's not that hard. You're still basically doing a single crochet, but you're doing it in the stitch behind instead of the stitch in front. You're going a stitch to the right. Maybe it's the way I hold my yarn and hook. It's not really a big bother. Anyway, I don't know that it added a whole lot, but I didn't find it difficult. It kind of adds almost like a corded edge. And she actually had that as an optional step because so many people don't like it. But I did it. And I have the next part changes this from a circle into a square. So I have, once again, I kind of drew it out on PowerPoint. So I can kind of think through my color placement, because it's hard for me to just picture it as I go. So I like to play with it in PowerPoint with colors, and I've got colors that pretty closely match this. And because it's basically a triangle shape to square it off, I took the photo. This is going to sound really weird, but I took the photo, put it in PowerPoint, made it black and white so I wouldn't be thinking that much about it. Well, actually, I toned down the colors enough so I could just sort of see where they were, but not let it overwhelm me. And then I used the drawing tool and sort of drew out the shapes, tracing on top of the photo. And then when I had a shape, I filled it in with the color I was choosing. I'll show you guys next time. Or maybe I'll post it in here if I remember. The photo, the picture that I created is actually on my computer, and all my processing is mostly done on the iPad. You know what? I'll just post it in the Ravelry thread. That'll be easier. Anyway, So I have the next one drawn out, and part of it also is I keep wanting to switch colors, and I have to remember that dark teal is my main color, so I need to always be using it more than the other colors. I don't know exactly how much each one will use, so I am playing it by ear. So, and I want to make sure I'm kind of evenly using things. So I think so far I'm doing a pretty good job. I hope. I guess we'll see at the end. The nice thing about Burnett Super Saver is if I do screw up and I decide I really need more purple, I'm pretty sure Mom can get me more purple, or whatever I ran out of. So I'm really liking this. I am going to pause here and show you pictures. All right, now the problem I'm having is those are the main things I have. I mean, and you have the border for the K-Facet Afghan. I have the Sophie's Universe, which at part 3 is already 23 inches wide. I have the Crochet Mystery Afghan. All of those are too big to take to work and work on. And I don't really want to start any major projects because they are major projects. But luckily, right now, my secret swap project for Knitopia is a small carry-on project. And it will be throughout the whole thing. I mean, it's in here. It will always be in here. But, once again, I'm not going to show you this. So I'm going to pause and just talk about it and save it for a later podcast after Knitopia is over. Alright, so anyway, as long as I have that project, at least I still have something to work on at work. Like I said, conference calls are really good for small projects, and small projects are good for conference calls. It's a two-way street on that. I am not a good conference call listener. I start multitasking, and I know I'm not the only one. But if I'm knitting or crocheting, as the case may be, I actually pay attention really well because I'm not looking at emails, I'm not reading something else on the screen, I'm not running a report and trying to do data analysis, all of which take your brain away from the conversation. I had one today where they asked if I had anything to add, and I had to say, no, I have nothing to add because I wasn't listening very well. And I would have admitted it and asked them to back up, except for I knew that the person speaking knew what he was talking about. But it was the first time in a while where I've been caught off guard and realized I wasn't paying attention, because I normally work on a project. I work on a mindless project that keeps my hands busy so that I'm listening. The only other way I can do it is if I'm the note taker. So, alright, I did get yarn in the mail. This is Line Brand Amazing. I was trying to find a cowl pattern a while back, and there was one that I saw that turned out it was actually part of a Lion Brand sponsored Craftsy class. And the class was on sale. So I went ahead and bought the class, and then I decided I didn't want to do that cowl pattern. But anyway, I went ahead and bought the class. What I didn't realize is that the class came with yarn. And they had actually emailed and said, don't forget your yarn. But sometimes when you buy a class, they'll send you an advertisement that says, don't forget you can buy yarn, because Craftsy sells yarn too, especially that matches with a class. They will frequently have special pricing on like kits for the class you bought. I thought it was one of those, so I had kind of been ignoring it. And finally, it just happened as I was flipping through. I didn't pre-delete it out of my email. I actually looked and realized that no, it was telling me that because I bought the class, I got free yarn and I need to go fill out the form or I was going to lose it. So I filled out the form. I don't think they asked me what color I wanted. I don't remember. But either way, I got this color. And this is Lion Brand Amazing, which is a slow color changing yarn. It's very, very fluffy. It was free yarn, free shipping, 53% wool, 47% acrylic, 147 yards, 50 grams. So it's a worsted weight. it actually matches, I think, the color that I'm using on part of my knit swirl, the one that I showed you last week. And Sandy was saying, you're bringing that, right? You're almost done. I'm like, no, it's not anywhere close to done. So I think it's kind of the same color, though, now that I'm thinking about it. But it's pretty. There's a pattern on it, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe it just is telling you. I was trying to figure out, there's a hat pattern and a scarf pattern, or a hat and a scarf knit up with it. This can't possibly make, maybe it makes the hat, but I don't think so, because it looks like it's got a really wide brim. Alright, I'm babbling. Alright. Yarn. I didn't buy it. I have really not been buying yarn, just because, like I said, unless it's something special, I'm just not buying it. I have a bunch of stuff, and getting the idea of packing is part of it. Is, you know, thinking about it, going, well, but I say I'm not buying yarn, but obviously, like, I bought yarn for these projects, and so the yarn I've been buying has been more project based. I'm going to pause here for a second because, well, alright, I know what the question is I was going to answer for what do you want me to share. I just don't know where I put my phone, so I'm not going to read it. But it was a question from Heather, and I know she will forgive me. Oh, one thing before I forget. Somebody was, and it kind of goes with this, somebody asked if it was okay on the Knit Whatever You Want thread to post something that was in crochet. Well, actually, there's actually a lot of projects on there that are crochet. But my Knit Whatever You Want is really, really loose. It's pretty much do whatever you want within the fiber crafting world. I'm like, I said in my answer that yes, you can knit, you can crochet. I mean, most of my projects are crochet right now. Actually, all of my projects are crochet right now except for my twitchy socks. Which I didn't show you this week because I didn't do anything with them. I was saying even weaving is probably, weaving is probably fine, needlework, and somebody said, yeah, they actually posted weaving last month. I was like, oh yeah, I do remember seeing that. So knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, all fine. So even needlework, probably fine. You finish a cool cross stitch or a big embroidery thing, go ahead and post it. We're not that picky. That's the whole point of do whatever you want. Now if you start showing, I don't know, pottery, I might go, well, but you guys know me, I'm not really that antsy about it. Which kind of leads me to the question that Heather posted. Now, she posted another question about magazine subscriptions, and I was going to answer that one, but I didn't actually, bring any magazines to talk about, and I wanted to answer more fully on that one. So I'm going to answer a different one she asked about how do I decide to enter prize drawings. And this came up because there was a podcaster, and I don't remember what podcast. It wasn't one I watch, and it frankly doesn't matter. But the podcaster had requested that people only enter the drawings if they were people that were active members of the board. And that if you were just trolling for prizes, don't bother. And so we were talking about that, whether some people enter drawings just for the prizes and maybe don't participate or whatever. And then I saw another podcast that was saying, if you're making a bunch of tiny preemie hats while somebody else is making a sweater, consider kind of lumping them together into one to kind of even the playing field. And so then I was thinking about ours, and I let you guys do whatever you want. If you want to post, a bunch of dishcloths one at a time, it's fine by me. And if you finish something, long and that took a long time and it was really cool, that's good too. I look at all your photos. I don't have time to answer everybody, but I do try and pick out some periodically and go, that's really cool, or that's a great pattern, and comment on it. So she was asking, how do I decide what I'm going to enter? And my criteria for myself is if it is something I'm actively participating on. For example, items that are part of a knit along. He started to jump and then realized he was going to whack himself and then he stopped. For example, if I had finished the cave facet blanket on time for their drawing, I would have entered it because I was active on that board. I was participating in the knit along the whole way. I would have no problem. If I am participating in somebody's charity knit along and I've been participating, I've been promoting it on the podcast here, I will enter into the drawing. The ones like ours, honestly, I don't enter on other people's podcasts because I don't talk that much on their boards. I absolutely love the Knit Girls, 90% Knitting, Geeky Girl Knits, Dramatic Knits. I watch all of those on a regular basis. I don't hardly ever comment on their podcast or in their threads or anything like that. So I don't enter into them. Even though I love them. And sometimes I feel guilty because I know that it's really nice as a podcaster to hear back. But then sometimes I feel, then I feel bad that I haven't talked to other people and said, hey, I really loved your podcast. Which, side tangent but related, Amy Beth of the Fat Scroll Speaks. Another one that I absolutely adore, and I've never written to her. I talked to her once at Stitches, and commented that she was quieter in person. It was just, oh, I didn't see you. I didn't hear you. But anyway, she commented that she went to, I think it was the Knitting Pipeline Retreat. Anyway, and people kept saying, oh, they really love watching and they're sorry they don't say anything. And she was going, you know what? People watch TV all the time. You don't email, most of us don't email the actors and tell them what a wonderful job they did. It's kind of the same thing. You're watching us. We're your entertainment. Whether you decide to participate on forums or fan clubs or whatever. Not really fan clubs, but on TV shows there's fan clubs. Okay. If you just like to enjoy the TV show or enjoy the podcast, that's good too. And I thought that was apropos. But anyway, because of that, I don't tend to enter contests unless I'm very active in participating. Now, if they will accept the entry, I will probably enter for the mystery knit along, or mystery crochet along, the crochet crowd one, because I've been active on several of the boards, and I've been keeping up, but I don't know if they will, because you weren't supposed to make alterations, and I think making 40 squares might be an alteration, even though they said if you want to make it bigger, add more squares. So I don't know. That was very rambly. I'm sorry. But I was going to tell you something else. I don't remember. It was kind of related in there. I don't know. I do, however, watch several podcasts. Oh, just recently I started watching the Knitworthy podcast. And it's a mom and daughter. And they actually are living together with, it's actually 3 generations living together. And, but the mom and the daughter are doing the podcast. And they're a lot of fun. I mean, they just seem to have a really good, happy relationship. I like watching them. So, I think that's everything. If I had my phone, I could check. But I don't know where it is. I had it. But that's probably enough for now. I will talk to you guys all next week. Bye now.